ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। अपार करुणा सिन्धुं ज्ञानदं शान्तरूपिणं श्रीचन्द्रशेखरगुरुं प्रणमामि मुदान्वहम्। तदन्देवासि वर्यं च जीवोद्धारणतत्परं श्रीजयेन्द्रगुरुं पूज्यं प्रणमामि मुदान्वहम्। चतुर्दश वयप्राप्तं सन्न्यासं सुमहामतिं नमामि शङ्करारम्भं श्रीविजयेन्द्र सरस्वतीं। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। स्वस्ति वाचनम्। ओम श्री कांची कामकोटि पीठाधिपति जगद्गुरु श्री शंकराचार्य श्री चरणयोः श्री प्रणामाः। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्री महात्रिपुर सुंदरी समेत श्री चंद्रमौलीश्वराय नमः। स्वस्ति स्त्री मदगिल भूमंडलालंकार त्रयस्त्रिंशत्कोटि देवता सेवित श्री कामाक्षी देवी सनाथ श्रीमते काम्रनाथ श्री महादेवी सनाथ श्री हस्तिगिरिनाथ साक्षात्कार परमाधिष्ठान सत्यव्रत नामांकित कांची दिव्य क्षेत्रे शारदा मठ सुस्थितानाम् अतुलित सुदारस माधुर्य कमलासन कामिनी धम्मिल्ल संफुल्ल मल्लिका मालिका निश्चंद मकरंद चरे तौवस्तिक वाग्निगुंभ विजृंभणानंद दुंदिरित मनीषि मंडलानाम् अनवरता द्वैत विद्या विनोदरसिकानाम् निरंतरालंकृतीकृत शांति दांति भूम्नाम् सकल भुवन चक्र प्रतिष्ठापक श्री चक्र प्रतिष्ठा विख्यात यशोलंकृतानाम् निखिल पाषंड षंड कंटकोत्पादनेन वशतीकृत वेद वेदांत मार्ग षण्मद प्रतिष्ठापकाचार्याणाम् श्रीमत् परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य वर्य श्री जगद्गुरु श्रीमत् शंकर भगवत्पादाचार्याणाम् अधिष्ठाने सिंहासनाभिषिक्त श्रीमत् चंद्रशेखरेन्द्र सरस्वती संयमीन्द्राणाम् अधिष्ठाने सिंहासनाभिषिक्त श्रीमत् जयेन्द्र सरस्वती संयमीन्द्राणाम् अन्तेवासिवर्य श्रीमत् शंकर विजयेन्द्र सरस्वती श्रीपादानां च चरणारविन्दयोः साष्टांग प्रणामां समर्पयामः। हरि ओम। On behalf of Kanchi Kamakoti Seva Foundation Midwest Chapter, wishing you all a very happy Ugadi today. Thanks for joining this month's Kamakoti Parayana Mandali program, which features discourses, lectures, Parayanams on various topics from our Sanatana Dharma. We are also very happy to welcome our distinguished speaker presenter today, SriNarayanaprasaadh Srinivasaraghavan ji, who will be giving a talk on Garuda Vaibhavam. A brief introduction on SriNarayanaprasaadh ji. He comes from an illustrious family of well-renowned scholars in Sanskritam like Mahajanambakam Shri Sheshadricharya and Shri N.S. Tatacharya. He is a Shishya of the Shri Ahobila Mutt. He is also the regional coordinator for the Midwest chapter of the Mutt here in the US. He is actively involved in educating kids into the Vaidika Marga. On a professional level, he works in the automotive industry and is very enthusiastic about our Sanatana Dharma. He is currently doing Vedadhyanam under prolific scholars from Srirangam. So let's get immersed ourselves for the next hour and a half on Garuda Vaibhavam. Hari Om.
भगवद्भक्तजनार्तिहन्तुः प्रदत्वमन्वेष्यविचार्यतोर्णं स्तम्भे वदारस्तवनं नलभ्यं लक्ष्मीनृसिंहं शरणं प्रपद्ये। अहोबिले गारुडशैलमध्ये कृपावशात् कल्पितसन्निधानं लक्ष्म्या समालिङ्कितवामभागं लक्ष्मीनृसिंहं शरणं प्रपद्ये। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय Govindaya Namo Namaha. Namah Pannaganadhaya Vaikunta-Vashavartine Shruti-Sindhu Sudotpada Mandaraya Garutmate Yo Nityamachyudapadambujayugma-rugma Vyamohatastaditarani Trinayamene Asmadguror Bhagavatosya Dayeka-Sindhoho Ramanujasya Sharanau Sharanam Prapadye Sashanka-Chakralanchana-Stvadurdhva-Pundramanditaha Sakantalagna-Sathulasya Narga-Padma-Malikaha Sitantariya-Suktariya-Yajna-Sutra-Shobhito Mama Virastu Manase Guru-Sa Venkateshwaraha Prapadye Niravadhyanam Nishadhyam Gunasampadam Sharanam Bhavabhitanam Shadagopamunishwaram Srimat Sriranga-Prithvishwara Shataripuna Samamindrena Drishtam Nastatmanam Drusumhe Narahari Shadajit Yoginetu Prasadad Bhagyam Srirangagari Prabhavayatipate Prapta Lakshmi Nusumhasthanam Seve Yatindram Sakalagunanidhim Viraragveshatarim Sriranganatha Shadagopi Yatindra Drishtam Lakshmi Nusumma Shadajit Karunekapatram Srirangavira Ragurat Shadagopakrityam Shri Vedanta Desika Yatindra Maham Prapadhye Srimatranga Shadari Samyamivaral Labdhagamantadvayam Srimat Vira Rahutvahat Shadajit Padaravindaashrayam Srimat Vedavadamsa Desika Yate Karunya Vikshaspadam Seve Rangadhurina Shasanavasam Narayanam Yoginam Vedanta Desika Yatindra Katakshalabdha Rayanta Sara Manavadya Gunam Buddharghyam Narayana Atyati Turga Kripa Bhishtam Sriranganati Yatishekaramashrayamaha Srimate Shrivan Shragovi Shri Virarag Shragovi Tindra Mahadeshikaya Namaha Srimate Shrivan Shragovi Shri Vedanta Desika Tindra Mahadeshikaya Namaha Srimate Shri Lakshmana Simha Divya Paduka Sevaka Shrivan Shragovi Shri Narayana Tindra Mahadeshikaya Namaha Srimate Shrivan Shragovi Shri Ranganatha Yatindra Mahadeshikaya Namaha. Namasabhai. Today with a lot of Abhivandanams to Shri Sriram Swami and Shri Seturaman Swami, we are going to venture into the material that I have prepared for Vainateya Vaibhavam or Garuda Vaibhavam. Okay, so I will be switching between Sanskrit, English and Tamil because a lot of these references occur from Vedas and Puranas and Itihasas, and also certain aspects might be better expressed in Tamil or Sanskrit, while the major medium of expression I'll try to keep as much as possible in English, but I'll be switching in between these three languages, and I kindly excuse all of you to apologize. I mean, kindly apologize to all of you to excuse me for this. And also one thing I want to mention before I start is, if you find anything wrong in the information I mentioned, all of those is attributed to me, the errors are attributed to me. And if you find the information helpful, useful and informative, then all the credit goes to my Acharya. Okay. So with that, we'll get into the material. And now what I'm going to say is, we have a plan for how we will approach this, this session here. First of all, I'll go through the references from Vedam. Okay. Vedams and the shlokams that are referenced about Garutman or Vainateyan, and how it has been mentioned in the Vedas about the upasana of this particular Garuda mantram, and then how people that don't have exposure to the mantra shastra anupravesha, those people that are not capable of doing, like those people like children and people that cannot follow the staunch and very strict protocols for mantra anupravesham, for those people, what would be the best way to pray to Garuda? And then the references from Puranas, right? Itihasa Puranas like Mahabharatham and Srimad Ramayanam, where there are references about Garutman and the actual Garuda Vaibhavam of what happens in those Puranas and what are the intricate details that have not been out in the public domain much. So I'm trying to bring that information over to you. And then lastly, I would like to also mention all of the temples that are dedicated to Garutman, and where they are located and what their specialities are, and what sort of particular unique blessings we will be receiving by praying to that particular murti in each temple. That will be my agenda for today. There is a lot of material, so I will try to get into the material and wrap it up on time. And with that, let's get started. So Garutman is one of the Nityasuris. Okay? Ananta, Garuda, Vishwaksenas are the three major Nityasuris. And what does a Nityasuri mean? Okay, in Vedam, you might have heard before, Vishnu or Paramam Padakam Sada Pashyanti Surayaha. So that Sada Pashyanti Sureha. Sada Sureha Pashyanti, that Sada Sureha are Nitya Suris that perform Nitya Kainkaryam to Mahavishnu in Shri Vaikunta. So Ananta, Garuda, Vishwaksenas are, those are the major Nitya Suris, and Garudman is the second after Ananta. Okay, so Garudman is a Nitya Suri and he is performing Nitya Kainkaryam for Lord Sriman Narayana. Okay, so let's see the Vedic reference for Garudman, because it is very rare for a Nitya Suri to be actually mentioned in the Vedam and actually be described in the Vedam. So we'll go into a little more detail about where it is mentioned and what actually the verse is. Okay, so Krishna Yajurveda Taittiriya Samhitayam Chaturtha Kande Pratama Prashne Dvijatvarimshat Panchadi. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Suparnosi Garutman Trivritte Shiroga Yatran Chakshustoma Atma Samate Tanur Vamade Vyam Brihadratantare Paksho Yajna Yajniyam Puchanchanda Visyanga Nidishniya Shapha Yajugum Shinama Suparnosi Garutman Divangacha Suvapata. So this occurs in the Krishna Yajurveda Taittiriya Samhita in the 4th Kanda in Pratama Prashna. Okay, so this 4th Kanda Pratama Prashna mainly talks about a Mahayajnam called Agni Chainam or Garuda Chainam. Okay, so why is this called Garuda Chainam? Is because the whole Homakundam or the sacrificial altar in the place where they offer all of the all of the dravyams or all of the offerings to Agni, and the Devatas receive it through the Agni, that altar itself is made in the shape of Garudman. And this mantram, the Suparnosi Garudman mantram, it is supposed to be the upasana mantram of that particular Mahayajnam called Garuda Chayana. Okay, we know a lot of our ancestors and a lot of our grandfathers or great grandfathers back in the day in India have performed many of these Garuda Chayanams. And if you listen to commentaries or kalakshepams by well-renowned scholars like Sengalibala Manantarama Dikshitar or Vasudevacharya and others, they would mention that they themselves have sometimes performed this Garuda Chayanam. So this is the place where Garudman is described by Vedamata herself, like Vedam herself, right? So what does this mean in a very short, concise fashion? Okay, Suparnosi Garudman Trivritte Shiraha. Okay, Suparna is Garudman. Suparna means Swarnaha Parnaha Yasya Asti, golden feathers. One who has golden feathers is called Suparna. And then Trivritte Shiraha. Trivritte are different parts of Vedams that are split into separate names. This particular Panchadi says that Garudman is the form of Vedam. Vedatma Bhageshwara. So Garudman himself is a form of Vedam, right? So all of his body's appendages, like his wings, his face, his tail, his hooves, and his body and his name, all of them, each one of them correspond to a certain part of the Vedam, and that's exactly what this Panchadi is telling in great detail. Trivritte Shiraha. So the head of Garudman is the Trivritte. Gayatram Chakshus. So Garudman's eyes are supposed to be the Gayatri Mantram. The Gayatri Mantram that we chant during our Sandhya Vandana, that is supposed to be the Netram. Netram Gayatram Uche or Gayatram Chakshus. Okay, so you particularly know that eagles have a very, very sharp eyesight. They can catch or they can track their prey from kilometers away in the sky, right? So that's why it is also referenced here that Gayatram Chakshuse, Suparnosi Garudman Trivritte Shiro Gayatram Chakshuse, Stoma Atma. So the Atma is the Stoma. Stoma part of the Veda is the Atma of Garudman. And Samate Tanuhu Vamadevyam. So the Samavedam and the whole Vamadevya Vigraham forms the central body of Garudman. And Brihadratantare Paksho. Brihat Sama and Ratantara Sama are two major parts of Samavedam, and those two parts, Brihat Sama and Ratantara Sama, form the Pakshav, mean the wings. Both wings of Garudman are Brihat Samam and Ratantara Sama. And Yajna Yagyam Pucham, the tail of Garudman is the Yajna Yagyam, and Chanda Gumsi Angani, the Chandas, right? All of the Chandases are the Angams or the appendages of Garudman. Dishniya Shapa. So the Dishniyaha become the hoofs or column, right, of Garudman. And Yajugumshi Nama, the name, Vainateyan Garudman, the name itself is Yajurveda Rupam. So Yajugumshi Nama, Suparnosi Garutman, Divangacha Suvapata. This is how the Panchadi goes in Chaturtha Kandam, Taitriya Samhita, Pratama Prashna. Okay, so the Vedam herself, the Vedamata itself, describes Garutman and describes him as a Veda Purusha or a Vedatma. So that's what we get out of here. In Amarakosha, which is the Sanskrit dictionary, the synonyms for Garutman happen to be Garutman, Garudastakshyo, Vainateyo, Kageshwaraha, Naagantako, Vishnurataha, Suparnah, Pannagashanaha. So Garutman means, Garutu means wings, Man means the person that has it. The person with wings is called Garutman. That's the meaning for Garutman. Garudaha. Garudaha means Garudbihi diyateti Garudaha. A person that moves around by flapping his wings is called Garudaha. Tarkshiha. Tarkshiha has several meanings. At some places it is referenced to as a green emerald. At some places it's referenced to as a person that is very sensitive to taste, but generally and a person that has very sharp eyesight. So all of those apply to Garutman as Tarkshiya. Vainateyo. Vainateyo means Vinata Tasya Sutaha. So Vinata's son is Vainateya. Garutman, Garudastaksho, Vainateyo, Kageshwaraha is the lord of the birds. Kageshwaraha. Naagantako, the devourer of the snakes. Naagantako Vishnurataha. He is the vehicle or the favorite Vahanam of Vishnu. Suparnah Pannagashana. Suparnaha, like we already saw. Swarnaha Parnaha is Astiti Suparnaha. A person with golden wings is Garutman. Suparnah Pannagashana. The enemy and a person for which snakes become an automatic meal is Garutman. Suparnah Pannagashana. That is how the references go in Veda. Okay, and there are several shlokams that have been attributed to Garutman's greatness. Okay, now we will slowly go into the Garuda Mantram, what the Garuda Mantram is. And Garuda Mantram, there is we have to be very careful because there is a slokam in our Shastram that says, Gurum Prakashayet Dhiman, Mantram Yatnena Gopayet. Meaning, you have to talk very well about your own Guru or your Acharya. A smart person would talk about his Acharya with a very loud mouth. You don't have to see plays or you don't have to see a particular occasion to talk the greatness of your Guru. You can be free about talking the greatness of your Guru, while at the same time, the mantras that are taught by the Guru have to be strictly kept a secret. You have to strive to keep it as a secret. Okay, mantram yatnena gopayet. Okay, because manana trayate iti mantraha. The person that chants the mantram, the person that achieves some level of resonation with the vibration of the mantra is being protected by the mantra. So you have to be very careful about it. So we will not explicitly, suvyaktama solamata, we will not openly explicitly say the mantra, but how we will follow the same procedure that the Samhitas do. There is a mantrodharaka bhagam in the Samhitas where it will clearly say what the mantra is without actually saying the mantra. Right? So that is how the mantram has been referenced, and we'll see the beauty of our sampradayam where you can get the same benefit of doing purascharana, of doing the mantra siddhi, of doing the upasana by chanting the slokams which contain the gist of the mantra. Okay, we'll get into that detail in just a minute, and we will go after this. We will go into the Avatara Rahasyam where the Puranas have mentioned about it. So now there are a few slokams that I want to touch upon for describing the Rupam of the Garuda Mantram itself and Garutman's function itself. So there was a great Acharya in Vaishnava Sampradayam called Alavandar, and Alavandar has reference in his Stotra Ratnam as Dasasaka Vahanam Asanam Dvajaha Yaste Vitanam Vyajanam Trayimayaha Upastitam Tena Puro Gurutmata Udangri Samardha Kinanka Shobina. So he has identified all the functions performed by Garutman in Sri Vaikuntham, as well as when there is Nitya Suris like this with Perumal, whenever Perumal has an avataram in the Bhumi, right? So when he has a avataram, then these Nitya Suris also come along with Perumal and also take birth along with him to aid him in his actual Avatara Rahasyam, to establish the Avatara Rahasyam, and then go back along with Perumal or even go before Perumal back to Sri Vaikuntham. They are called as Karana Janmas, and they are born for a certain reason to support and assist Perumal, right? So in such occasions, Alavandar has identified all the deeds that Garutman has done in his time at Sri Vaikuntham as Nitya Suri, as well as during his support activities in in the Bhuloka, right? So Dasaha. So he is the Dasan for Perumal. Dasaha Saka. Saka is, he is the best friend for Perumal. So in Srimad Ramayana, I'll just touch upon the context of it because we are going into a little further detail about this particular aspect later when we go into the Puranas. So Saka is when Rama and Lakshmana were hit by a Naagaasthram of Indrajit, a particularly venomous, vicious snake called Kadraveya. Okay, that is the name of the astram that was used by Indrajit on Rama and Lakshmana, and they were swooned down by the poison. Garudman comes to their rescue. And at that point, Lord Rama asks, "Who are you, O great man, that you came to save here?" Because Ramo Vigrahavan Dharmaha, and he is also trying to make an act like that he is a human being. He never shows himself as a Paramatma or incarnation of Lord Vishnu. So he tries to pretend to be a human being and has who you are to Garudman, and Garudman says, "Aham sakate kakustaf priyah prano bhaishchara." Okay, so we'll go further into detail, but just want to mention the concept. Dasaha, Saka, Vahanam. We all know about Garuda Vahanam, on how famous Garuda Vahanam is. Dasa, Saka, Vahanam, Asanam. So when he is the Vahanam, Garudman, Perumal sits on Garudman while he is the Vahanam. So Asanam also Garudman. Vahanam, Asanam, Dvajaha. We know the Garuda Dvajam. Right? Even we see nowadays during Kumbhabhishekams or any temple events, the Dvajastambam has a big flag that they raise during the Brahmotsavam events. That flag contains Garudman's drawing on it. So it is called Garuda Dvajam, and Lord Vishnu's Dvajam had Garudman sitting in it. And symbolically same for that way, during the Mahabharata war also, Lord Krishna's chariot had a flag that had Garudman sitting in it. Okay, so Dasaha, Saka, Vahanam, Asanam, Dvajaha. Yaste Vitanam. So he also becomes an umbrella for Perumal. When Perumal, Lord Krishna, was roaming around in the sun, Garudman used to be flying on the top, being his umbrella, protecting him from the rays of the sun. Okay, Dasa, Saka, Vahanam, Asanam, Dvajaha, Yaste Vitanam, Vyajanam Triyimaya. So what he does when he is in Sri Vaikuntham, and there is no avataram going on, Lord Sriman is lying in his Ananta Shainam, and then Garudman is standing there, then what is he doing? He's not doing anything? No. He is waving his wings to be the fan. Tala Vyajanam. We say Visiri in Tamil, right? So he is waving his wings in order to be fan for Perumal, but the actual Sukshamartham in that is, what did the Vedam say? The wings of Garudman were Brihatsamam and Ratantarasam. So he is actually offering the Veda Parayanam by moving his wings, while at the same time, what Perumal hears is the Brihatsamam and Ratantarasamam, when Garudman is actually shaking his wings and providing him cool air. Okay, so this is the small description provided by Alavandar. And also he says in his Chatushloki, Vedatma Vehegeshwaro Yavanika Maya Jaganmodini. We already saw Vedam itself already praises Garudman. His different various appendages, different various parts of the body are reference to different parts of the Vedam. So we already know that Vedatma Vehegeshwara, and this is an additional reference that I wanted to bring. Okay, now we go into the Garuda Mantram. Okay, Garuda Mantram is supposed to be a very, very, very Rahasya Mantram. It is called as Panchavarni Rahasyam. It is also Panchakshari. Okay, so Garuda Mantram also has 5 letters. It is called Garuda Panchakshari, and there are 3 references to Garuda Mantram. One is in Parameshwara Samhita, second is in Ishvara Samhita. These two offer the same version of Garuda Mantram. And then there is also a part of the Pancharatra Samhita that is called Vishnu Tilakam. Vishnu Tilakam has a slightly different version of the mantram, but both of them are in a sense the same. Okay, so what is this? How have they described this? So basically, like I said, it's called Mantrodhara Bhagam of every Samhita. Mantrodhara Bhagam of every Samhita describes the mantram mostly in terms of a Katapayadi meter, or it says the first letter of Pavargam, the last letter of Yavargam, and it points to the letters, but it does not actually say the mantram openly. Okay, so one of the great acharyas of Visishtadvaita Sampradayam called Swami Deshikan, he did Sakshatkaram of Garudman, and then he chanted the Garuda Mantram and did Purascharanam at Tiruviheendram. Tiruviheendram, right opposite to the Devanatha Perumal Sanadi, there is a small mountain called, Aushadagiri. And then on that Aushadagiri, he chanted the Garuda Mantram, and the Garutman became Pratyaksham before him. And Garutman offered the Hayagriva Mantram to him, and he did Purascharanam. Swami Desikan did Purascharanam for Hayagrivan. And then Hayagrivan became Pratyaksham and gave him all the skills that we later reference to Swami Desikan. So the reason why I'm saying this is, after Garutman came in Sakshatkaram and gave him the Darsanam, he also appeared in his dreams, in Swami Desikan's dreams, to make a Grantham on Garutman. So that Grantham is called Garuda Panchashat. And in the first slokam of Garuda Panchashat, it is very clearly mentioned what the mantram, Garuda Mantram is. So, like I mentioned earlier, for those people, for chanting the mantrams or for doing Purascharanam for the mantram, there are very, very, very strict protocols. Okay, children cannot do it. People that are not, ordained into or trained into chanting mantrams cannot do it. People that are not very well versed with Anganyasam, Karanyasam, Dhyanam, Lankaradi Upacharangal, and the Gayatri Mantram. And after finishing all of your regular Nitya Karma Anushtanam, that means, so people that don't even have time to establish them, okay, so they will be completely blindsided from the benefits of getting the blessings of Garudman. So what Swami Desikan did is, he wrote the first slokam to be a compendium of the Garuda Mantram itself. And if you chant that one slokam, you get the benefit of chanting Garuda Mantram. Okay? It is referred to as Panchavarni Rahasyam because it has 5 mantrams in it, 5 letters in it. And the slokam goes like, Angeshwananda Mukhya Shruti Shikaramilati Dandakam Gandapurvam Prage Vabhyasya Shatsup Prati Disham Anagam Nyastha Shuddha Astrabandaha Pakshihi Vyastaha Tapakshihi Dvitaya Mukaputa Prasputo Darataram Mantram Garutmatam Tam Utavahadaita Shekaram Shilayamaha. So the stotavya of this whole slokam, okay, whoever during the beginning of any grantham or any particular work, the first slokam would be the Nandi slokam or the Prarthana slokam about a particular murti in order for completion, good completion of the grantham. So in this case, this grantham, the stotavya is Garudman himself, but the first slokam is paying obeisance or praying to the mantram itself. Stotavya mantram itself becomes the deity of the first slokam. Okay, so the meaning of it goes like Angeshu. So in the body, in the angams, in the first 2 sentences, the Purascharana Vidhi is described. Angeshu means in the limbs. Ananda Mukhya. Ananda Mukhya is like Vedam says, like Anando Brahmete Vyajanate Ananda Devakal Vimani Bhutani Jayante. So the person that is capable of bestowing Anandam on you, that is the Ananda Swarupam, because later in Garuda Panchashat where or in Mahabharatham also Veda Vyasa says there is abedam between Perumal and Garutman in terms of gunams. So Garutman is also capable of bestowing Anandam. So Ananda Mukhya is described in those 2 words. Angeshu Ananda Mukhya Shruti Shikara. We just saw that Vedam itself references Garutman as a form of Vedam. Garutman as Vedatma. So Shruti Shikara, okay, the summit of the Vedams is referred to as Garutman. Angeshu Ananda Mukhya Shruti Shikara Milati Dandakam Gandapurvam. This particular work, which is done in Dandaka Pave or in Dandaka format, Gandapurvam, with the bird, or Garutman as the bird, as the prime deity of the Grantham or the Stotavya Murti of the Grantham. Angeshu Ananda Mukhya Shruti Shikara Milati Dandakam Gandapurvam Prage means already. Prageva Abhyasya. Abhyasya means already the person that is supposed to do this mantra japam is supposed to have done the abhyasa. Prageva Abhyasya Shatsup. Shatsup means Shadanganyas. Anganyasam, every mantra is split into, if you are familiar with mantra japams, you would know that each mantra is split into 6, and then you have 6 Anganyasam. Hridayaya Namaha Shirase Swaha Shikaya Vajate Malaika Vajayhum, all of that. And then you have Karanyasam. Angushta Bhyam Namaha, Tarjini Bhyam Namaha, Madhyama Bhyam Namaha. So the mantra is split into 6, Anganyasam and Karanyasam. So Shatsup means 6 nyasams. Angeshwananda Mukhya Shudasayamala Dandagam Gandapurvam Rahe Vabhyasya Shatsup Pratidisha Managam Yasta Shuddha Astra Bandhaha. So the last step of the Anganyasa Karanyasam is Niryaya Astraya Bhat. So on all the 8 directions with the Astra Mantram, Astra Bandhaha, you tie yourself with the mantram on your Angam. Okay, those 2 sentences talk about the Anganyasa Karanyasa. Okay, Pakshihi Vyastaha Tapakshihi. So the Vapa Bhagam of the mantram, or the actionable part of the mantram, is mentioned in this first 2 letters. Okay, so in Parameshwara Samhita it is referenced as a direct word, and in Vishnu Tilakam it is flipped over. Regardless, both give the same benefit when you are chanting it. So Parameshwara Samhita and Ishwara Samhita say Pakshihi, and then Vishnu Tilakam from Pancharatra Samhita says the flip of that, and that becomes the first 2 letters. Okay, Dvitiya Mukhaputa means the Pata Bedam on this goes both ways. It's either direct or flipped. Okay, Dvitiya Mukhaputa. Prasputo Darataram. Darataram means the Adaram, the Pranavam. Pranavam becomes the next part of the mantram. Mantram Garutmatam Tam, the Garuda mantram itself. Hutavaha Dayita. Hutavaha means Agni Bhagavan. Dayita means Patni. Swaha is the Patni of Agni Bhagavan. So it finishes with the Swahakam. So without telling the mantram itself, this shlokam completely describes the Garuda mantram, and by chanting this one particular slokam, you get the blessings of Garutman, because it has come through an Acharya also, and that Acharya also has done Sakshatkaram of Garutman. By chanting this one shlokam, you can bypass all of the strict protocols, all of the Anganyasa Karanyasams, all of the Mantra Shastranu Praveshams, and all of the Purascharana Vidhis, and all of that can be bypassed. And when you do this in good faith, obviously you get the best result by the blessings from Garutman himself. Okay, so that goes about the mantram part. Then we will go into the Vrittanta. In Mahabharatam, in Adi Parva, the Vrittantam of Garutman comes. Okay, so Garutman's Avatara Dinam is Ani Masam, Swati Nakshatra. Okay, Swati Nakshatram, Ani Masam is the birth date and birth month and nakshatram of Garutman, and it also happens to be the birth mantram and nakshatram of Periyazhwar, Andal's father, who is also one of the Alvars. Periyazhwar is supposed to have written the Shrauta Bhashyam Prapratama days, in way back when. The Shrauta Bhashyam has been first pioneered by Periyazhwar, and Periyazhwar is supposed to be a Garudamsam, and his Periyazhwar Nakshatram is also Ani Masam Swati Nakshatram. Some temples celebrate Adi Masam Swati Nakshatram, but both are prevalent in South India. But Ani Swati is generally supposed to be the Avatar Dinam of Garutman. So what happens? How was Garutman born, and how did this whole thing come into picture? There is a Maharishi called Kashyapa Prajapati, one of the Saptarishis. So Kashyapa Prajapati was performing penance, and he comes back after penance, and he married the daughters of Daksha. One of the wives of Kashyapa Prajapati was called as Vinata, and the other wife was called as Kadru. So he married like 13 wives of Daksha's daughters as wives. And then obviously Vinata was referred to as Dakshayini also, because she was the daughter of Daksha. So Vinata was one prominent wife, and Kadru was the other prominent wife. So when Kashyapa Prajapati comes back, he says he is ready to grant boons for getting children to both Vinata and Kadru. So he asks, what kind of children do you want? And Kadru says, I want hundreds of serpents. And then Vinata says, I want 2 kids that are more powerful than those 100 kids. Okay. So then Kashyapa says, okay, I will make a yajnam, and we will get going. So when this happens, there are Valakilyas. Valakilyas are almost like dwarfs, like only up the size of your pinky finger, right? So those Valakilyas are supposed to be extremely tapasvis, mahatapasvis. And they are coming to this yajnam conducted by Kashyapa Prajapati. So they bring, when you go to a yajnam, you take the things that are useful in the yajnam. So they are Maharishis that are going to participate in the yajnam, obviously. So they are carrying Samit. Because of their size, 6 or 7 Valakilyas together are only able to manage one single twig of Samit. Okay? So Kashyapa Prajapati is also the father of Indra. So Indra is also going to that Yajnam, and he is carrying all the Samit, the Ajyam, and all of the, Krishnajinam and everything that is required for the Yajnam in his chariot, and he is riding super fast like a lightning in the sky. And he looks at these Valakilyas and say, you could have told me and I could have helped you carry this one Samit. All of you rishis need not struggle like this for carrying just one Samit for the Yajnam. This looks very pitiable, and he says, and he goes away. So these Valakilyas are extremely upset. Like, what does this Indra think about himself? Are we incapable of arranging the commodities required for the Yajnam? Or are we being sincere in our effort to carry this one Samit for the Yajnam? So why is this Indra's, why is this Indra so proud of himself without actually looking at the capability of us? He is totally insulting us, and they are extremely disturbed. So right there, they start the Yajnam and they start performing the Homam, and the Ahuti has been offered. What is the prayer that is offered during the Ahuti? That the power or the fruit of this Yajnam should create another Indra that is more powerful than this Indra and is capable of conquering this Indra and taking up any amount of strength and taking up any amount of form, and will finally reduce the pride of this Indra. Okay? That is the prayer that is offered. So when Indra hears about it, he's shaken. Like always, after the mistake he has done, he is repenting. He is directly going to Kashyapa Prajapati and says, Father, I made a mistake. And then Kashyapa Prajapati already knows. It's like, did you see the Valakilyas and did you, do something wrong? And he says, no, I didn't do anything wrong. I just told them I could help them, but something happens. Like, no, tell me what happened. And then Indra says, no, I told them, like, why are you struggling with this small twig? I could have helped you to carry this to the Valakilyas. Kashyapa Prajapati says, oh my God, what did you do? They are the most renowned Maharishis, and I that started to perform a yajna for in seeking an offering. I was waiting for them to start the yajna. That is their level of caliber and that is their capacity. And what did you do? And both of them rush over to the Valakilyas, and they are like, sorry, Valakilya Maharishis. Indra made a mistake, and Indra prostrates and holds their leg, and he cries and sobs and says, sorry, I made a mistake, sorry. But Valakilya says the Ahuti is given already. Okay, the prayer has been offered, the Ahuti has been given, you cannot relent from this, and then that's it. Because they are like Sattvikas, right? Because they are Maharishis, because they are Sattva-guna Paripurnas, they lose their anger very fast. And Kashyapa Prajapati says, oh great ones, please forgive Indra. This position to Indra has been ordained by none other than Bhagavan himself. So kicking him out of his current position would be an apacharam to Bhagavan's sankalpam. So let's not do that. So let's make a workaround. Okay? Let this Indra be the Indra of the Devas, or the king of the Devas. The Indra that you have given the Ahuti for or have requested, let him be the Indra of all winged creatures. Let him be the Pakshindra, okay, the god of birds. And then since Valakilyas are all Sattva-guna Paripurnas, there are Mahayogis, they lose their anger immediately, and they understand the reasoning behind Kashyapa Prajapati's words and say, so be it. Because of your intervention, Kashyapa Prajapati, we are accepting to this. So be it. Let there be Pakshindra. But then one caveat. That Pakshindra will be more powerful than this Indra and will reduce his pride. That will definitely happen. And then they goes like, fine, as long as I am Indra, I don't worry. I have gone through many wars. I have surrendered many times. So I don't care. Indra is happy, and he fell on the feet and he goes away. Then what happens? Vinata and Kadru are talking in one of the pots when they are talking between two wives. So you guys already know, when two wives of the same Maharishi or the same king talk and have a good time, there is always some problem coming. So similar to that, what happened? These two wives are talking, and Uchchaishravas, the celestial steed or the celestial horse, is flying by the sky, and Kadru says, look, Uchchaishravas has a black tail. And Vinata says, what? Uchchaishravas has a black tail? No way. Uchchaishravas is pure white unicorn. There is no black colored tail, no nothing. I can even bet on it. I can bet my freedom on it. I'm so sure about it. And then Kadru has second thoughts, and she goes back and says like, how can I How can I fix this? Because looks like I'm stuck. And in the meantime, the yajna has borne fruit, and the hundreds of serpents that Kadru had requested are already born. Vinata gets 2 eggs. Okay, Vinata gets 2 eggs, and those 2 eggs are supposed to be more powerful than hundreds of snakes that were given to Kadru. And then Vinata's eggs have not hatched yet, but Kadru's eggs have already hatched, and all of the snakes have come to life, and they are all running behind Kadru. So Kadru tells those snakes, like, next time when we see Uchchaishravas, you snakes are supposed to go and wrap around the tail of Uchchaishravas and make it look black. If you don't do it, I'll curse you and burn to ashes. And the snakes are so scared, and then the snake goes exactly like that happened. Snake, next time the Uchchaishravas comes around, when these 2 maidens are playing in the park, the snakes go and wrap around the tail of Uchchaishravas, and then Kadru says, look, Vinata, Uchchaishravas has a black tail. You didn't see it properly. You didn't pay attention to detail. So now you're going to be my slave. And then Vinata cannot believe her eyes. What's going on? How can Uchchaishravas' tail be black? But she's seeing right in front of her eyes at a distance that the Uchchaishravas' tail is looking black. So she has nothing to say, but she is very clear that she has been cheated by deception, right? But she cannot say anything because she cannot go back on her word, and she already has become a slave to Kadru. So Kadru starts taunting Vinata more and more that her eggs are not going to hatch, and Vinata finally loses it and tries to break open 1 egg. There is a child that comes out of it, but only half the body is formed. The top half of the body is formed, but the bottom half of the body remains a lump of flesh. Okay, and that child is none other than Arunadeva. And then that child curses Vinata. It's like, you opened this egg without waiting for the right time for me to be born. So you shall be cursed to be under slavery for the next several years. And he says, don't stop me. I'm going to the Surya Deva, and I'm going to be the charioteer of Surya Deva. And he disappears. Even now, if you visit the temples and go to the temple chariot or the Ratham, you will see Arunadevan sitting in front of the chariot, and you will see that the body of Arunadeva is only half. The remaining half of the body will not be there. Reason for that is because the premature opening of the egg by Vinata caused the remaining part of the body to be remained as a lump of flesh for Aruna. So this is the first story, but he also says, don't hurry in opening the next egg. Let it open by itself. You are in for a surprise. And that child will relieve you of the slavery that I cursed you with. And he says that, and he disappears into the sky. He becomes the charioteer for Surya Deva, and Aruna is the charioteer for Surya Deva. Okay, that topic is done. And then Vinata has to go through the slavery deeds of all of the things that Kadru wants her to do, and she's really having a tough time. Okay. In the meanwhile, the second egg has hatched, and the person that's born from there is none other than Vainateyan or Garudman. Okay. So Garudman directly goes over to Kadru and sees all of the torments that the snake children and Kadru are doing to his mother, and he's extremely distraught. And he asks those Kadru and the snakes, what do you need to relieve my mother from this slavery? And they say, obviously, we want to have the nectar or amritam. Okay. And then Garudman says, fine. If I get you nectar, will you leave? And they say, yes, absolutely. And then he directly goes over to Kashyapa Prajapati. He offers his prayers to his father, Kashyapa Prajapati. And then he says the story, and Kashyapa Prajapati says, victory shall be yours. Go get your amritam. The prayer and the ahuti that were offered by the Valakilyas are starting to give effect now, because the amritam is under the protection of who? Devendra. Now Indra is not going to part with this amritam for the snakes. Garudman has to go there, fight Indra, defeat him, and then grab the snake amritam from him. That is how it has to end. That is how Garudman also has taken the sankalpa. So he flies directly to the Swargalokam, and then he meets all of the devas. There is a tremendous amount of fight going on, and all the devas and all of the weapons and everything is completely devoured. There is a ring which is called a Chakradurgam, fort made of spinning sharp-edged wheels with snakes in between protecting the Amrita Kalasam. Okay, and obviously Garudman goes inside and then shatters the fort and also kills those snakes and takes the Amritam, and nobody is able to stop it. No Devas, including Indra himself, even after waging the most fiercest war, is not able to stop Garuda, because the Ahuti of the Valakilyas are protecting Garuda and giving him the strength. Okay, so he has defeated Indra and he has grabbed the Amrita Kalasam in his hand. But Garudman does not want to take part of the nectar himself. Okay, because the Avatara Rahasyam until that point for Garudman is for Matrishoka Vimochanatam. What is the Matrishokam? The slavery to Kadru caused by the curse laid upon her by Aruna, his elder brother. So that Matrishokam has to be relieved. So the Amritam, the Ekakra Chiddam of Garudman in receiving the Amritam and handing it over to his mother to relieve her of her slavery, or Matrishoka Vimochanam, is so strong that he is not distracted by the nectar in his hand. Right? He doesn't want to consume the nectar in his hand, and he is directly taking the Amritam and he is directly going to his mother. Lord Vishnu sees this discipline and Ekagrachittam of Garudman and his prowess in defeating Indra, and he says, "Oh Garudman, come here. You have nectar in your hand. Not a little bit of flinching you have in your mind to consume the nectar yourself, but you are so dedicated to your activity, you are taking this to your mother. So I am mighty impressed. So let me give you a boon. Ask for a boon." So Garudman says, "I should be above you. That is the boon I want." And then Lord Vishnu says, "Fine, you can go sit on my flag. That way you will be above me all the time." And then Garudman says, "Fine, now that you gave me a boon, I'll give you a boon. You ask for a boon to Mahavishnu." Right? So Mahavishnu says, "You should be my vehicle." And Garudman says, "Fine, but I have to finish this job. I have this Amritam on hand. I need to leave my mom. Once I finish up all that, I'll come back and report to duty." Okay, fine. Okay, so then Garudman flies over to Vinata. At the same time, Indra intercepts Garudman and says he tries to put the Vajrayudam on Garudman. Even the Vajrayudam doesn't seem to do anything. Okay, Pakshalesham Didesha is the word that Garuda Panchashat used. Not even one feather in his wings were hurt by the Vajrayudam. So Indra is like, you know what? There is no way. If there is, if we cannot surpass him, then we have to be submissive. Then he says, "Okay, mighty Garuda, I am mighty impressed by your powers. So let me be your friend." Okay. I know you are taking this Amritam, but if it were somebody else, they would have had the Amritam themselves. But you seem to be very disciplined. You didn't even touch the Amritam. You are taking this for somebody else. But guess what? Whoever has this Amritam normally just come back to the Devas and they want to fight the Devas and win over Swargalok. Okay, that will disturb the universal balance. So if you understand what I am saying, well, you are not interested in this Amritam. Why are you taking this to somebody? Why don't you give this to me? And then Garudman says, "Makes sense. What you're saying makes sense. Whoever has Amritam is going to come and fight the Devas, and it will affect the balance of the universe. But I have promised the snakes that I will bring them Amritam to relieve my mom. So let's make a plan. I will give them the Amritam. Okay? I will leave the Amritam on Darbas and ask them to go take a bath. And before they come and take it, you can retrieve the Amritam back and go to Swargalokam, and you can be happy and I can be happy. Win-win situation. You get your Amritam, I get my mother out of slavery. Both of us are happy." And then and Indra says, "Fine, very good." And Indra is very happy with Garudman. And Indra says, "Let me give you a boon, ask for a boon." And Garudman says, "These snakes troubled my mom so much that I am really, really upset with them. So make snakes my natural meal." That is where Garudman got the name Pannagashanam. Okay, the eternal enemy of snakes. And then Indra says, "So be it." And they act out exactly. He goes to the snakes, offers the Amritam, and he walks away. And he says, "Go take bath and then come to Amritam, because this is, not regular meal for you. This is, Devata Saram. So you go take bath, perform ablutions, come in a pure state and have Amritam." And then he walks away. He says, "Please relieve myself and my mom." The snake says, "Yes, you are relieved. You can go." And then Garudman and Vinata walks away from slavery, while they are going to take bath, Indra comes and takes the Amritam, goes back to Sri Vaikuntham, game over. Okay, so that is why Garudman is supposed to be the Pannagashana or the Nagantaka. Nagantako Vishnurataha Suparnah Pannagashana. Those words occur from this story. So this is the Vrittantam as narrated in Adi Parva of Mahabharata. Okay, so next Puranam we are going to see is Srimad Ramayana. Okay, there is Yuddhakandam. In Yuddhakandam, the 50th Sarga, Panchashaha Sargaha, Yuddhakande Panchashaha Sargaha, Nagapasha Vimokshanam. Okay, so the very, very important thing that I'm trying to say is people, I mean, obviously, Perumal, Bhagavan and Garudman are capable of bestowing all the blessings. All the blessings, if you want to study well, you want more money, you want health, everything is they are capable of bestowing by prayers. But particularly, Garudman, praying to Garudman is very, very, very effective for whiling away the vishams, like vishams caused by, or the poison caused by snake bites, insect bites, or animal bites, or any different form of bites. And also horoscopically, people that have snake-based doshams, like Sarpa dosham, like Kala Sarpa doshams, Rahu Ketu based ill effects are extremely effectively handled by chanting of this Nagapasha Vimokshana. Because even Lord Rama and Lakshmana themselves, who were incarnate of Mahavishnu and Adisesha, they themselves, even though they were enacting the Ramayanam as a normal human being, they were also very, 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 Satyena Lokan Jayati is the epithet that used to be Rama's strength. Like, how was he able to build a bridge when nobody even had an idea about what a bridge was? How was he able to kill the Karadushanas? How was he able to do great miraculous deeds that normal people couldn't do? And then he was not even using his Mahavishnu powers. How was that possible? And the answer is Satyena Lokan Jayati, Ramo Vigrahavan Dharmaha. So Rama was Satya Paripalanam and Dharma Paripalanam. That power gave him the strength to establish all of that. So for people like that were doing Satya Dharma as their breath, Indrajit was a very mighty, fierce warrior. There was a snake called Kadraveya. It is a female snake. And the noise it makes is such a shrieking, scary noise that even by listening to that noise, certain people faint in the battlefield. Okay? And the Kadraveya snake was wrapped up on an astram, and Indrajit was conducting Maya Kuta Yodinaha, and he was also conducting a Maya war. Like, he would appear in front of Rama and Lakshmana, try to shoot an arrow. When the arrow starts coming, and these guys, when Rama and Lakshmana shoot an arrow backward, he'll disappear. And suddenly he'll come in the back and shoot an arrow. Suddenly he'll hide behind a tree. Suddenly he'll go disappear in the sky. Suddenly there'll be 5 Indrajits. So it was so difficult to deal with Indrajit, right? And for no reason. I mean, he was not called Indrajit for no reason. Obviously, he was very, very mighty warrior. So one fine day, he used the Naagaasthram or the Kadraveyan. Okay? And Kadraveyan and tied up Rama and Lakshmana. It's already going to be Suryastamanam. There is very limited time left. Sushena, who is the father-in-law of Sugriva, comes over and says, this is the deadly snake that's swoon around Rama and Lakshmana. They are lying down like rocks. If you don't find a solution for this soon, once the sun goes down, the poison will start entering into their body, and we cannot control anything after that, is what Sushena says. And everybody is struggling. Vibhishana is crying. I gave up my brother and came in Sharanagati of Lord Rama. Look what has happened to these two. Yetau Satpurushau Baddhau. Okay, Sarabandho Maharano. These two Satpurushas have been tied by the Sharabandham that is caused by Indrajit. Okay, or Ravani. Ravani is the son of Ravana, and this Maya Astram by Indrajit has tied these two people, and nobody knows what to do. Its sun is coming down, and then everybody is crying. Sushena is worried that it's going to be dark. Sugriva says he'll go and fight Ravana and retrieve back Sita. And laugh or cry, because even Vali, Sugriva could not take care of. How is he going to fight Ravana? He's being very valorous, but it's not really going to happen. So he's almost moved to tears, and nobody knows what to do, and the situation is extremely tense. Right? At that point, everybody notices that all the living beings, like the birds, snakes, scorpions, and everything, starts to go and hide inside the bushes. the water is boiling, bubbling in the sea. Nobody knows what's happening, and it almost looks like a great, huge meteor or an asteroid is coming from the sky. And at that moment, it is none other than Garudman that comes over to Rama's rescue. And then etasmin antare vayur megham shapi savidyutaha paryasyan sagareyatoyam kampayanniva medini tata pakshavadena sarvadripa mahadrumaha nipetur bhagnavitapaha lavosamola lavanambasi ato muhurtat garudam vainateyam mahabalam manaraha dadrishus sarve jvalantamiva pavakam. So he is burning like a volcanic lava that is dropping down from the sky. Okay, and all of the snakes and all of the vishajantus or the poisonous animals are just jumping away and taking solace inside the bushes or inside the burrows, trying to hide from him. And then Vainateya comes down, he encircles Rama and Lakshmana, and he softly touches their faces. Vainateyena samsprishta, touched by Vainateya. Their wounds touched by Garuda, the great eagle, were healed, and their bodies became smooth and well-rounded. Tejo Viryam Balamcha Vojaha Utsahascha Mahagunaha Pradarasananja Buddhischa Smritischa Dvigunatayoho. So now what happened after having gotten the touch of Garudman? Not only the snakes fell off, not only the Kadraveya lost its poison, not only Rama and Lakshmana regained conscience, their luster, valor, strength, endurance, resolution, and their great qualities and intelligence and memory were double the times than it was before because of the contact with Garudman. Okay, and they sit up and then they are relaxed, and all of them have gained double the power. And then Rama, he is enacting the act of a human being, so he tries to pretend, he tries to not shake his disguise. So he says, Bhavat prasadad vyasanam ravani prabhavam mahate avamiha vyadikranto shigram cha balino krutau. So now I feel like yata tatam dasharatam yata ajancha pitamaham tata bhamantam asadhya hridayam me samprasidati. So when I see you, it feels like I saw Dasharatha. It feels like I saw Aja Maharaja. It feels like I saw all of my forefathers. Yata tatam dasharatam, yata ajancha pitamaham. So when I see them, how happy do I feel? The same amount of happiness I feel. Who are you? Ko bhavan rupa Priya Prano Bhishcharaha. So I am your friend. I am Priya Pranaha, your lovely Prana. Bhishchara, that is actually outside, roaming outside. Your Prana that is roaming outside is me, your close friend. Garudman ihasamprapto yuvayo sahya karanat. Me, Garudman, came here in order to help both of you. And then Asurava Mahavirya, Danavava Mahabalaha, Suraschapi Sagandarvaha Puraskriti Shatakratum, Nemam Mokshaitam Shaktaha, Sarabandam Sudaranam, Maya Balad Indrajita Nirmitam Krura Karmana. So because of the Maya Bala, Indrajit did a Krura Karma and tied you up both with this terrible snake. Not Asuras, not Mahaviryas, not Danavas, not Mahabalas, not Devas, not Gandharvas. Nobody could have been capable of removing this except for myself. And then Yete Nagaha Kadraveyaha Tikshna Damshtraha Visholbanaha. So these are Kadraveyas that have very sharp teeth and very strong poison. Okay, and those have been tied upon you by Maya, and that is why you both are swooned in the floor like that. But now you are okay. My work is done. I heard about this Vrittantam and I came in order to rescue you, and my work is done. And he then again does pradakshanam for Rama and Lakshmana and pays his prayers to Rama and Lakshmana. And then Yeva Muktva Tato Ramaha Suparnaha Sumahabalaha Parishvajya Sugritsinnam Aprashturupachakrame. Then he says, Sakhe Raghava Dharmajna Ripunam Api Vatsala. So Raghava Dharmajna, my friend, a person that is lovable even for the enemies. Ripunam Api Vatsala. Now I am taking leave and I am going in the sky, Antariksha, as a Shigra Vikrama. So he goes back at the same speed at which he came. Okay, and that is the Nagapasa Vimokshanam. And if you read Nagapasa Vimokshanam, even that one particular sargam or listen to that one story, even the most powerful Rama and Lakshmana that were tied by the snake were relieved by Garudman. We will also be removed from our tense situations that have been caused by snakes or snake-related ailments. Okay, it is a very, very, very well-known and a very powerful prayer. So I just want to mention this to the viewers, dear viewers. Nagapasiv Mokshanam is a very powerful prayogam and is a part of Srimad Ramayanam. Obviously, it has to be taken as an upadesham by a sadacharya, and he has to initiate it. But if you can read the story and think about the powers of Lord Rama and how Garudman came and rescued him, that thought can help you and give you the energy to come out of very difficult situations also. The next part of my material I was going to talk about is the Divya Desams, or the temples. Okay, so temples in which that are dedicated for Garudman and what the speciality of each of those temples are. Nachiyarkoil is one of the temples that is very close to Tiruviheendram, Uppiliyappan Kovil, close to Kumbakonam. It's about 5 kilometers from Kumbakonam for Tiruviheendram, and I think or 6 or 7 kilometers from Tiruviheendram to Nachiyarkoil. And in this Nachiyarkoil, there is a very famous samadhi called Kalgarudan. Okay, the speciality of Kalgarudan is that the Vahana Murti, which is made out of monolithic piece of stone, one single monolithic piece of stone, itself is prayed to as a deity. Normally, you will see Vahanam in the Vahana Mandapam or outside in the different mandapams where the Vahanams are stored. And only when Perumal comes over on top of it, the Garuda Vahanam will be used and decorated and all of that. But in this particular temple, the Garudman, that is Garuda Vahanam, the Vahanam himself, is prayed to as Garudman and is very, very, very powerful. Amrita Kalasham is offered to as Naivedyam for that Garudman. And obviously, Garudman is supposed to have joined the Tayar and Perumal into marriage in that temple. Okay, so that is the Nachiyarkoil temple. It's a very, very famous temple, and if you ever happen to be there, obviously it is a Prarthana Sthalam for all Rahu, Ketu and snake related ailments. It is very, very effective. That is one. Next is the Tiruviheendram or Tiruviheendram, which is about 5 kilometers off of Kadalur. Okay, and like I mentioned earlier, there is Devanatha Perumal. And in front of Devanatha Perumal, in every Vishnu temple, if you see, directly opposite to Perumal, there will be Garudman's small temple for Garudman. Okay, so that small temple of Garudman in every temple, you will see that Garudman is holding his hands like this in Anjali Mudra. If you go to Tirupati or if you go to Srirangam or Kumbakonam or any Divya Desam or Mahavishnu temple, Garudman will be holding his hands like this. But in this particular temple, in Tiruviheendram, Garudman is holding his hands like this and standing as a Dasan. We saw Dasas Saka Vahana Masanam Dvajaha, right? That Dasatvam is depicted in this temple. So Garudman is holding his hands like that. The mountain that is right opposite to the Perumal Samadhi is called Garudamalai or Aushadagiri. And that is the place where Garudman is supposed to have come in his physical form in Pratyaksham for Swami Desikar. So even now, if you go, there is a Dhyana Pitam or Yoga Pitam on top of the mountain where Swami Desikar sat and did the Purashcharanam for Garudman, and Garudman became Pratyaksham. So that is also another Divya Desam where you can go and have darshan of Garudman. And the Nadi behind the temple is called Gatilam or Garuda Nadi because of Garudman's prominence in that particular Divya Desam. The third point is Srirangam. In Srirangam, there are two Garudman. There are actually 3 Garudmans. There is one Amrita Kalasha Garudan outside in the Veli Prakaram. And there is one Garudman per Agama Shastram, which is a Panchaloka Murti or a Vigraham that is right opposite to Ranganatha. And there is another Mandapam called Garuda Mandapam. There is a huge Garudman that is in Garuda Mandapam. Okay, and I've never seen that big of a Garudman temple inside Srirangam. And there is not actually a agamic significance for that Garudman because the Agama Prakara Garudman is inside in the Chandana Mandapam. Right? Inside the Chandana Mandapam, right opposite to Ranganatha's Nabhi, there is a Garudman Panchaloka Vigraham, and that is the Agama Murti. But there is also a huge, humongous, big Garudman sitting in a Kunchita posture with his hands in Anjali Hastam and praying to that Garudman is also considered to be very, very, very powerful. Okay, and last but not least, and there are 2 last, not the last one, there are 2 more. Melakote is in Mysore. there's a Perumal called Ramapriyan. Ramapriyan has a Vairamudi or a diamond crown. This diamond crown has a story behind it. I'll be very concise with it because I'm coming to the end of my session. This Vairamudi has a story because Virochanan stole this crown from Perumal. Okay, and when Krishna was playing, Garudman saw that and he wanted to give the same crown over to Lord Krishna, and he fought with Virochana and got that Vairamudi. And even now there is a Garuda Sevai called Vairamudi Sevai, and that Vairamudi Sevai is very popular. Even now you can go see there in Melakotai, that was offered by Garudman, and this Vairamudi is worn by the Ramapriyan Perumal or Selva Pillai while he is on Garuda Vahanam. Okay, and last but not least, when you say Garuda Vahanam, it's the Kanchi Garuda Vahanam that is very famous. And one small story is that Doddayachar was one of our famous Cholingapuram priest. He used to come from Cholingapuram to Garuda Sevai, Kanchipuram Garuda Sevai every year, but he was not able to come one year. But what happened is he prayed to Varadarajar on top of Garudman from Cholingapuram itself. And for a moment on Garuda Sevai, Varadaraja Perumal on top of Garudman disappeared. And he appeared right in front of Doddayachar and offered his Sevai as a reminiscing point even today. When the Garuda Sevai, Varadarajan and Garuda Vahanam comes under the Gopuram, for 2 minutes they will hold a terai or a screen not to show Perumal to anybody, because he is symbolically providing his darshanam to Doddayachar at Sholingapuram. Okay, so that is another place to watch Garuda Sevai, and Garuda Sevai is one of the most popular Sevais. And let's all pray to Garudman that all of the viewers that get to see it now, or that are seeing it now, or that may be seeing it in the future, are all blessed by Garudman for all health, wealth, prosperity, and happiness. Thank you very much. Srimad Pringashadari Salme Vivaral Labdhagamantadvayam Srimad Veera Rahuttu Hapti Hadatit Padara Vindashrayam Srimad Vedavadam Sadeshiki Yate Karunya Vikshaspadam Seve Rangadhurina Sasanavasam Narayanam Yoginam Vedanta Deshi Hedindra Dakshalabda Trigindasara Manavaddi Gunam Vadargriham Narayana Tidur Kripa Vishiktam Sri Ranganadi Sekara Mashriyamaha Shri Lakshmana Sri Vivadgasevaka Shivan Jagova Sri Narayana Hedindra Mahadeshikaya Namaha Shivan Jagova Sri Ranganadi Hedindra Mahadeshikaya Namaha. Dhanyavasmi.
Dhanyavadaha. On behalf of KKS of extreme privilege to have had this opportunity, wonderful bhagyam, to do a Shravanam on a very auspicious day today. It is the beginning of the Vasanta Navaratri Utsavam, combined with Nutana Samvatsara Dinam, known as Ugadi for many of us, for many of our Bharatiya Desha Jana. On such a wonderful day, we are fortunate to hear this wonderful Vaibhavam of Garudamurti, Garudalwar, by such a very well learned person, our SriNarayanaprasaadh. Indeed, he started off wonderfully by describing Garudalwar as a Nityasuri, and then providing Adharam from Vedas, from Amarakosha, with quotations from works of Swami Desikar, Desikendra Swami, Periyazhwar, and other Alvars. And then what a wonderful storytelling mode he got into with the wonderful story of how the two wives of Kashyapa battled, and how the Matru Bhakti of Garudalwar came into picture. And it was indeed very spellbinding Shravanam, I should say, of this story of various of our various devas. And finally, also to touch upon Vrittantam from both Mahabharatham and Srimad Ramayanam. Very wonderful description of how Rama and Lakshmana were rescued by the Pakshindra, as he had called it, and how and also how He's also revered in prayed in Mahabharata. And finally, to also bring reality for us, for many of us who visit India and visit Divya Desams, he also touched upon the various kshetrams, including Nachiyarkoil, Melkote, Srirangam, and Kanchipuram, Tiruviheendram, and so on. It was indeed I don't know how the time passed by. Wonderful Shravanam, and it was really a very nice account of the greatness of the Vahanam of, I should not say just Vahanam, because you wonderfully described he was a Sakha, he was also a fan bearer, and he was so many other things to Lord Vishnu. He is, I should say. So, on behalf of KKSF, our Bhagyam to have done this Shravanam, SriNarayanaprasaadh ji. I would also like to thank all of you who are tuned in to our social YouTube and Facebook, social media, YouTube and Facebook channels, and those who will be watching the recordings as well. Please do join our future programs. Once again, I would like to thank SriNarayanaprasaadh ji, and also like to thank all our volunteers and all our viewers. Just a note, please note April 30th, which is a Sunday, is being ordained by our Pujya Sri Acharya Sri Periva for conducting the next Sahasradala Padma Aradhana program, SDPA 2, as it's going to be called, Sahasradala Padma Aradhana program, where children will be chanting shlokas. They've been practicing for it for the last couple of years through the COVID times. So please join us. You can also watch our YouTube channel for the past year SDPA programs. We look forward to your satsangam at that time. And I would like to thank all of you. Jai Jai Shankara, Hara Shankara. Thank you, Narayanaprasaadh ji. Paramabhagyam.